I'm Dave from ANAAL NATHRAKH, and you're listening to Metal Wani and Metalholic Magazine.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay, thank you. You?
I'm actually recovering from a sonic assault, which your new album actually did on my senses.
Well, I can't speak for the experience of the fans, but it sounds a good thing to me, yeah.
Definitely. Now, I'm pretty sure that was what you were actually trying to achieve for this album.
Um, yeah, really. I mean, that's basically what we try to achieve the whole time. The trick is making it interesting and memorable at the same time. And yeah, I mean, whether we've done that with this one, I can't really be the judge. But for me, listening to it, I think we succeeded. Yeah.
That's super cool because I wanted to know what was the vision you had in your mind for Desideratum.
It's pretty much as it appears to you when you receive it. We're in a fairly, I don't know if lucky is the word, but we're in a position where we do absolutely everything ourselves. So a lot of bands would write some songs and then have to find a studio and a producer who could work with them and that kind of thing. But we do it completely ourselves from having an idea for a song in the first place right through to the last master that gets sent off to be reproduced as CD. So if it's not what we had in mind that comes out, then we're doing our job wrong. You know what I mean?
Right. That's absolutely true. Right? Because it's quite evident on the album that there's a strong industrial metal vibe on this album. I also heard some, dubstep influenced breakdowns in some of the songs. I kind of felt that you're listening too much of an electronic music these days while you were actually working on the album.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, we wouldn't tend to use terms like industrial metal or breakdowns or anything like that because we don't think in those terms. We like some things and we don't like others. And if it's something that we like and something that we think sounds good, then as far as we're concerned, it's fair game to include it. We don't really pay any attention to what you're supposed to do or supposed not to do or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, for a long time, we've listened to electronic music and a whole host of other things. I spend a lot of my time listening to Chopin or Arvo Pärt.
Nice.
At the same time, yeah, we're both big fans of Broken Note, for example, which is an electronic outfit that we both think sounds fantastic. And I recently got the Aphex Twins new album, which I thought was quite interesting. But it's not so much that we consider ourselves diverse, it's that we don't notice there are boundaries in the first place.
True.
If that makes sense.
So you like to spread your wings?
Yeah, I suppose so, but we don't really see it as an activity of doing that. We just like things that we like and we pay attention to them. That's all. It doesn't seem like diversity to us.
That sounds really great.
Stuff we like,
Indeed. Now, even about your vocal samples in your songs, I kind of love the perfectly timed "Go and Kill Yourself" in the One Thing Needful. How did you go about deciding the samples to be included on this album?
Well, it's very much a matter of stumbling across them. It's not something that we paid loads of attention to because it's a little bonus, if you will, on top of a song as opposed to being, our stock in trade being to deal with them. But yeah, we continually keep lists of ideas and have ideas rattling around in our heads and stuff, and then we reach out and find whatever's appropriate at the time. It's a bit of a mishmash, really.
Right. Now, because your vocals, I mean, I have no words. I mean, it sounds like it's coming straight from the pits of hell or screams of 1,000 wits burned at the stake. I mean, how do you even create such inhuman sounds?
I don't know, really.
So
That's
there must be some
the
inspiration,
honest answer.
which you kind of developed your vocal style.
Yeah, no, it's the whole idea has always been to try and express a certain feeling.
Hmm.
So that, and that is still the only thing I do really. I mean, in terms of thinking technically how to do it or how to train one's voice or anything like that, I've never done anything of the sort. It's a matter of having the right thing in your mind and then just letting rip as best you can. Um, so yeah, there's not much thought gone into it. It's more instinctive.
That's true. And the surprising factor here is over the years, I as a fan have noticed that you've been including more clean vocals as a contrast to your, harsh vocals. So did you as a band decide you wanted to do this, or and let's say was it harder for you to adjust when you initially started singing clean?
No, there was never a decision to do it. It's always been the case that we do whatever felt right to do.
Hmm.
And so I mean, there's clean singing bits on our demos. Admittedly, more in the background rather than like a big chorus or something, but bits and
Right.
pieces. It's always been the case that we'd used anything if we liked it. But yeah, I mean, the first time there was a proper big chorus or something like that. It was
Hmm.
neither of us knew it was going to happen until it happened.
Uh-huh.
Because the way we tend to work is we'll listen to the song that we're working on at the time and listen to it section by section and figure out what style would best fit and all that kind of stuff. And it's usually the case that once I've got the idea in my head, I'll say to Mick, right, okay, press record, and
Hmm.
I'll just do it. And it was very much that with the clean vocals, just like it was with any other
Right.
kind of singing. So it's not like we decided and went, right, okay, we're going to stick some clean vocals in here. It was a surprise to both of us, really. It's very much done by gut feeling. So, yeah, I mean, we do use that fairly. It's not all the way through everything, but we'll sprinkle it here and there nowadays. But it remains true to that idea of it's just because it feels right. There's no more thought than that because
True.
I think you're listening to something back. As a fan out there, someone who's bought an
Yes.
album or whatever. I think that's how you receive it. I think you receive it in a fairly instinctive gut reaction kind of way, and I think
True.
if that's what you put into music, then it's more direct when you get it back out again at the other end.
Absolutely true. I completely agree with that. And fans have heard the album, press have heard the album. So you must have got a lot of responses so far from all your fans. So there must be, some of the best responses which you actually didn't expect, but it kind of, came as a surprise for you.
I suppose so to an extent. I mean, we don't tend to go looking for reviews and things like that.
Right.
Not because they're completely irrelevant to us, but because we understand that it, you can't please everyone. That someone who doesn't like our kind of music might end up reviewing it or something, and
Hmm.
it won't make any sense to them, and so on. But we do pay attention to things fans say to us.
Right.
And the reactions largely have been very positive. That a lot of people have been very pleased with it, and it's obviously the fans' reaction that is the important one. That's the
Hmm.
one that means the most, because these are
Absolutely.
people with a bit of themselves invested in the whole idea. But we did see one review actually that was 0 out of 10, the worst album I've ever
Oh
heard.
my God. Now
uh,
that was ridiculous, wasn't it?
well, yeah, I mean, we just found it funny,
Uh,
but
Absolutely.
from people whose opinions are worth listening to, it's mostly been okay so far. Yeah, we're quite pleased with the reaction we've had.
It's more like haters are gonna hate. It doesn't matter to us anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to be arrogant or dismissive, but
Right,
you
right.
know, you have to get on with what you're doing yourself first and foremost.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Now, I've been following your music since the Codex Necro days. And how do you feel your music has, let's say, progressed over the years? I mean, do you think you have gained more fans or you have lost more fans because of the change in the musical direction?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, there's a lot more people now that listen to ANAAL NATHRAKH than did back then, but
Mhm.
you know why that might be. I don't know whether it's to do with any changes that we've made or not. I've very little idea. Because the thing is, we don't have that sense of perspective. We don't step back and look at what we've done and how far we've come and those kinds of things. We're always just thinking about what we're doing at the time and what we're doing next.
Right.
So yeah, there will be a progression over time, but it will be because that's what we wanted to do,
True.
as opposed to because we felt we needed to do it as a reaction to something in the past or something like that. So really, that the answer to your question is more something that we would leave to other people to figure out. You know what I mean? We're intent on the creative bit at the moment, and that's
Maintain your artistic integrity as well.
well, yeah, possibly. I mean, again, that's not something that would even occur to us. You know, it's the artistic integrity is what it is. You know, it comes in through the door with us in the first place.
Right, that's absolutely true. No, I also read that the person who, being suffocated on the cover of, the Codex Necro was Mick's brother. How did that photo shoot, go down?
Yeah, it's Mick's younger brother Steve, and it's actually Mick's older brother Paul
Hmm.
who's doing it. Um, we just we wanted to try and think of things that would aesthetically suit the idea of the music, and we tend not to go for the more fantastical things that a lot of bands seem to use. You know,
Yes.
I don't know, dragons and wizards and whatever it is.
All
We,
right.
we're much more concerned with things that are genuinely disturbing in the real world, and I think they can be just as disturbing as anything more fantastical. There's a lot going on. Um, and at the time, there were news stories and things of atrocities being committed in various places.
Hmm.
Kind of took influence from that, and the grimy, almost surreal nature of thinking about those things, and yeah, it went that way. It kind of ended
Because
up that way.
it looks quite uncomfortable. I mean, it must have been hard for you guys to convince Mick's brother to pose like that.
Yeah, but he's up for. I mean, I had not long ago. I was listening to the radio, and there's a guy called Christopher Hitchens. Have you heard of him?
No.
No. Okay. Well, he's a writer. He's quite famous within his own circles, and he's been a journalist. Well, he was. He's dead now, but he was a journalist for years, and he wrote on some very provocative subjects. He's an interesting chap.
Hmm.
And one of the things he wrote about in a recent book, and then I heard him reading on the radio, was about waterboarding, because obviously that's a term that's sprung up in the past few years for a
Right.
very, very unpleasant practice that is done sometimes in the world. And I was talking to a friend about this, and he actually volunteered to be waterboarded for I mean, that's what Christopher Hitchens did. In order to write a piece on it, he went and had it done to him. And my mate wanted to submit himself to that for some photos and things. So you'd be surprised what you can get people to do for a photograph.
That's absolutely true. Now, you've been there for a long, long time. You've seen it all. So, with the black metal scene that's kind of growing and diversifying over the years, we are at a point nowhere. I mean, nowhere there are so many black metal bands around. Do you kind of feel that the scene has been saturated so far?
In black metal, yeah, certainly. I mean, I was intrigued by what people call black metal now, pretty much as it was starting off. I mean, when Dark Throne changed from being a death metal band to to be one of the first releases of what's now considered proper black metal with
Right.
A Blazing Northern Sky. You know, I listened to that, and yeah, I think it has been saturated a bit because earlier on the bands were a lot more distinctive. You know, Dark Throne sounded nothing like Bosom, sounded nothing like Mayhem, and so on. And there wasn't really a formula.
Right.
And there does seem to be something a bit formulaic about a lot of. It's not just black metal; it happens with virtually everything, but something a bit formulaic. And you know, we for example have had people point fingers at us saying that we didn't wear makeup and stuff. It was like, well, who wrote the fucking rule book? Who made you in charge of what's supposed to happen? You know. But at the same time, as much as there are there are groups of people who basically get their identities handed to them from things that they listen to. At the same time, there's still innovation going on, and or renovation, I suppose you might call it. You know, new interpretations of similar things that have been done in the past. So I think it's still interesting and vital, and there are good new things to listen to. And you just have to ignore the generic stuff, I think.
Yeah, the things you don't like, just have to ignore it.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you don't like something, so what? Who gives a shit? There's plenty of other stuff out there. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's really good. Now, what's the plan of taking this album on road? I mean, I'm sure fans want to hear this. Fans want to see you guys perform. So, are there any plans being set for, let's say, for 2015, or let's say towards the another 1 month left for 2014?
Yeah, well, but I mean, we just played a handful of shows in the UK in the past couple of weeks, and they seem to go pretty well. But one of the things we wanted to do was leave a bit of a gap after the album came out.
Okay.
Because what a lot of the time seems to happen is as soon as an album comes out, the band's on the road, and you sort of slamming a new album into people's faces when they haven't had chance to get used to it, you know.
Right.
So we wanted to leave a bit of a gap. But yeah,
absolutely, it will be really great because there's a huge following of ANAAL NATHRAKH here in India, especially when it comes as an underground grindcore scene. Because you guys started out as a black metal come grindcore act, so people have been following your music a lot. So it will really be an honor seeing you guys here in India.
Yeah, and it would be an honor for us to get over there. I mean, because that's the weird thing, that over there, I gather it is a very much underground kind of spirit going on, but there's a lot of people out there, but you tend not to hear too much about it over here. Because the press and everything is kind of focused on stuff that comes out of Europe and America, and to an extent Australia and things. And you don't hear a lot about what's going on in other parts of the world, but I know there are things going on. So yeah, it'd be fantastic to be able to go out and be part of it.
Indeed. That's where people like we come in from India, when we talk to the musicians and get to know their perspective about the country.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I bumped into a band from India not that long ago, called Demonic Resurrection.
Right.
Death metal band, and yeah, we had a good chat to them, and we were saying,
yeah, they are one of the pioneers of the blackened death metal scene here in India.
Yeah, and I think it would be good. Not just us, but bands in general. I think it would be good if they could take more notice, pay more attention to that part of the world in general.
Absolutely, Dave. Now, I had a really great chat with you. So I would like to end the interview by asking you a simple question to define Desideratum in just one sentence.
Multifaceted, at times soaring, almost beautiful even, at times desperately unpleasant, but hopefully always compelling.
Oh, wow. So everything is happening at times.
Yeah, exactly. Different facets, different aspects. It's a complicated soup with different chunks in it.
Absolutely, Dave. That's really cool. And I have to appreciate your Skype ID. That's really cool.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, nonetheless, I had a great time with you, Dave. A great chat with you. I look forward to see you guys live, at least in Europe, because I keep traveling there. So it'll be an honor seeing you guys live.
Cool, man. good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope it turns out all right when you write it up. So